Hi, my name is Ryan Ayers, and I'll be presenting the 1AC.
My name is Jonathan Ma, and I'll be presenting the 1NC.
My name is Matthew Pesci, and I'll be presenting the 2AC.
And I'm Jermaine, and I'm the 2NC.
Plan. United States federal government will appropriate sufficient funds and programs to guarantee the development of the human space settlements on asteroids, Mars, Earth's moon, or orbital colonies within 20 years. The first human outpost should be established within 10 years. Observation 1 is inherency. Without a commitment to colonization, human space flight will end. This is Faust 2011. Greason is more pessimistic about the future of at least NASA's human space flight program without a firm strategy in place for settlement. The strategy of default is going to result in the end of NASA human space flight program. When members of Congress question the wisdom of spending several $billions a year on an effort that lack of progress in an era of constricting budgets. Observation 2, harms. Without space colonization, human extinction is inevitable. There are many possible causes for human extinction. This is Sandberg, Matheny, and Circlevik 2008. More than 99% of species that have ever existed on Earth have gone extinct. Over the long run, it seems likely that humanity will meet the same fate. If we colonize space, we could survive longer than our planet. Humanity could be extinguished as early as this century by succumbing to natural hazards such as human-level asteroid comet impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, global methane hydrate release, or nearby supernova. As improbable as these events are, the measures to reduce their probability can be worthwhile. There are several possible paths to human extinction. A. Asteroids will hit the Earth, leading to planetary extinction. This is National Space Society 2011. 65 million years ago, a huge asteroid several kilometers across slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. This event that caused the extinction of dinosaurs and many other species. This scenario has been repeated over and over, and perhaps every 100 million years or so, each collision killed up to 95% of all species on Earth. As many as 2/3 of all species that have ever existed may have been terminated by asteroids hitting the Earth. A vigorous space settlement civilization based on asteroidal material would have an enormous economic incentive to find and utilize every asteroid passing anywhere near Earth. B. If asteroids don't get us, a supervolcano will eventually erupt, killing all life on the planet. This is Britt 2005. The eruption of supervolcano will chill the planet and threaten human civilization. There's not much anyone else can do about it. Several volcanoes around the world capable of gigantic eruptions, unlike anything witnessed in the recorded history, based on geologic evidence. Super eruptions are up to 100 times larger than these, and area size of North America can be devastated, and pronounced deterioration of a global climate would be expected for a few years following their eruptions. They could result in devastation of world agriculture, several disruptions of food supplies, and mass starvation. C. If nature's threat don't end life first, human behavior will lead to their own extinction. This is Sandberg, Matheny, and Circlevik 2008. The risk of anthropogenic hazards appear at the present larger than those of natural ones. Although great progress has been made, humanity is still threatened by the possibility of global thermonuclear war and resulting in nuclear winter. We may face even greater risks from the emerging technologies. Next, in total, the threats to long-term human survival are too great for inaction. This is Tone, September 2009. The litany of catastrophe scale problems facing humanity is long and well known. The set of catastrophic scale events includes nuclear war, global climate change, and massive volcanic eruptions, and collisions with near-Earth objects. Humanity is also plagued by myriad of lesser risks that will chain together and could equal a possibility to surpass the risk. Next, observation 3 is solvency. Space colonization is the only hope for human survival. This is Sandberg, Matheny, and Circlevik 2008. Since a species' survivability is related to the extent of its range, perhaps the most effective means of reducing human extinction is colonize space sooner than rather later. Next, space colonization increases chances for long-term human survival. This is Baum 2009. Space colonization will provide a hedge against the more immediate threats of humanity.
Okay. Okay, so I guess my first question is fairly simple. How exactly are we going to colonize space? So, like, how would a person live on Mars when there's like no water supply, when there's no sort of breathable material? How are people going to survive in space?
It's similar to what we're doing there in NASA, how we have a space station set up. So we'll just take the model of a space station and just put it onto Mars, which means that we'll create an artificial environment for the humans to live in.
Okay, so an artificial environment large enough to sustain a huge portion of the human population.
Well, our 1AC doesn't take a specific stance on how many people we want to send to space, but we know that it'll be enough for the human race to survive.
Okay. The second piece of Sandberg evidence you read says that if an asteroid or a volcano doesn't kill us, that we're going to die because of diseases and poverty and wars and all those things. How does going to space avoid any of those consequences? Why won't people also go to war on Mars? Like, why won't people still be poor on an asteroid? How do you solve those things?
All right. R1AC, although it mentioned that human behavior will lead to extinction, is basically majority the car is talking about anthropogenic causes such as global warming, and if we do go into create a space colony, we would have measures and things to do to prevent this from also happening in space.
Okay, so your argument is just it's less likely when people are more sort of dispersed, or spread out.
No, my argument is that once we go into space, we'll be able to design a model in which we don't have these same kinds of impacts.
And I guess my last question is also very simple. How much does it cost to sort of create all this technology that allows humans to transplant themselves? Like, I know, for example, in the past that it's cost anywhere between $500 to $700 billion for a shuttle to take off. How much money does this plane cost?
Well, 1AC doesn't give a specific number, but I know it'll be several $billions. But I also know that once we're able to go into create space colonies, we'll get our money back in return due to all the innovations and the resources we get. So even though it costs a lot, we'll save money.
Great, thank you.
I will start.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. Alright. Is everyone ready? There'll be one off and then case. Okay. The economy is going up, growth rates increasing, jobs and gas prices. Bloomberg 6111. Panaltinos expects the use of economic expansion to advance further and the central bank stimulus is appropriate. I expect the economy to continue on a gradual recovery pace in the next few years. Businesses are hiring and not pulling back. The economy is on a firmer footing. The unemployment rate will fall to 8.9. B. The link. Any space program will be expensive and destroy the budget. Sue and Cox 9. There are limited financial resources from the U.S. government, so it is irresponsible to impose on a nation and its people an Apollo-like huge spending space program. Next, failure to stop spending will result in economic collapse. Row 5-1811. The national debt are rising at an unconscionable rate. We have a spending problem. It is imperative to the future of the country that we fight for the immediate shift towards fiscal responsibility. It is prudent to limit the extension of borrowing authority as much as possible. If we fail to stop the spending spree, our nation will face economic collapse in the long term. Next is the impact. Economic collapse versus nuclear wars. Harrison Burroughs 9. The Great Depression lessons include the potential for greater conflict, economic downturn to developed nuclear ambitions. Conflict could lead to escalation. Conflict over resources could reemerge if protectionism grows and there is a resort to neo-mercantilist policies. Receptions could result in conflicts. Cooperation to manage resources is likely to be difficult. Next, case. 1. Colonization, no practical locations, no good way to get water, terraforming impossible. Williams 10. The moon and Mars host extreme environments that are uninhabitable to humans. Both are subjected to deadly levels of solar radiation and are void of atmospheres that sustain oxygen. Terraforming either body is not feasible with current technologies. 2. It would take at least half a century to colonize space. This means short-term impacts outweigh the case. NASA 5. Even given ample funds, the first settlement will take decades to construct. No one is building a space settlement today, and there is no immediate prospects for large amounts of money. It's reasonable to expect the first orbital colony to be built within about 50 years. 3. Human extinction is unlikely. Asteroid impacts are exaggerated. They are not likely. Cowan and 10. I don't know why they're making such a big fuss about it. This is essentially nothing. 4th, Yellowstone volcanoes won't erupt in the near future. Tsinghua 11. Eruption of a big volcano is extremely unlikely. You're talking about a volcano that has not erupted for hundreds of thousands of years or so. There is no panic, there is no alarm. 5. Innovation can achieve global sustainability. Reed and 10. Innovation in technological policy and social responses to achieve global sustainability. 6th, Earth can be sustainable if changes in production and consumption occur. Vinocharo and 514. If we want the poor world to have a better life, we have to change the way that we do an awful lot of things. Certainly the way we generate our energy. We've simply got to move away from the high carbon emissions energy resources. We've got to change the way we produce our foods to use soil and water and much else as much more sustainably. That is going to perhaps involve moderation of our diet, but also change the way that we produce what we want. The first is our numbers. The second is what those people consume. And third, and the one we need to think about as well, is how to produce what we consume. And however many billion people there are, we're going to have to adopt as fast as we sensibly can those different ways of doing things. We can sustain 10 billion people on this planet. All right, that's everything.
Alright, in the spending this out, what are the reasons why we know that the economy is doing well now?
Well, I think the card that I read lists a couple of things. The first is that thank you. The first is that the growth rates are increasing, which is said by the federal board chairman of Cleveland. So she seems to have some insider information. Additionally, indicates that jobs are rising and gas prices are decreasing, which are kind of these large macroeconomic measures.
Alright, so if the economy is doing so well, then how can a space program jeopardize the whole economy if you give all those reasons why it's doing so well?
Yeah, sure. I think our row card makes the argument that this large spending programs are pretty bad for the economy because it causes a greater trend of fiscal irresponsibility, which means that we end up just spending large amounts of cash inflow on different projects instead of reinvesting them in terms of dealing with Social Security, these other kinds of large systemic strains in the economy.
So basically, I guess the delineation you're trying to make is that when you spend on space, it's not a form of investment?
No, it's not that it's not a form of investment, it's just that there are other systemic issues that we have to deal with. And we have to deal with those issues prior to, some of these other things that are causing the economy to go bad.
Alright, so what's the time frame to economic collapse leading to a nuclear war?
Well, that's a very difficult thing to measure. And none of our cards actually make a substantial...
Well, it's a very difficult thing to measure. You make an argument on case that your impacts outweigh
our actually no, because we have a card that makes that claim for us. It indicates, our NASA card indicates that there are no settlements right now, and that the soonest one will be within 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so I guess we can ask you some questions about the case.
Okay.
Alright, so you talk about how it will be impossible to get water, but if we have a space, International Space Station now, why can't we use the same technology in order to get space on? To get water.
Well, I believe the way that we get water on the space station is that we have water there, we recycle it.
The order is the colonization advantage, and then the spending disadvantage. Everyone ready?
Yep.
Space colonization is possible. Our Sandberg evidence says that we can transition to space colonies. Additionally, we could do so on asteroids. Goldson and 429. Space settlements build new land rather than take from someone else. This allows expansion without war, destruction of the Earth's biosphere. This can easily support trillions of people. And Mars can be terraformed. McKay and 10. Despite the fact Mars is cold, dry, and probably lifeless planet, it has all the elements required to support life. Water, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, the essential aspects of Mars are close enough to those of Earth to be acceptable, and for it to be far from the sun to make it habitable. It could be possible to make Mars habitable again in the foreseeable future. Their time frame arguments also don't make much sense. First, this time frame is irrelevant when we're gambling with extinction. Second is that our Faust evidence says that we have the technology and can commercialize it soon. Their impact defense arguments, which are about asteroids and Yellowstone, are not relevant. First, our Sandberg evidence, as well as Faust evidence, is highly qualified on this question, whereas their evidence is just from newspapers and blogs. Second, their evidence says that these events are not likely. We agree with that claim, but the sheer probability of either asteroids, supervolcanoes, methane hydrates, supernovas, nuclear war, or climate change causing extinction is all compounded exponentially in the world of the affirmative. Their sustainability arguments are also not relevant. First, we have reasons why even if humans can sustainably exist on life on this planet, things like overpopulation mean that we cannot inhabit the planet successfully. Spending DISAD. The case solves the impact of the DISAD. It solves war. The Columbus Dispatch in 1. An international push into space would unite greater universes. The heavens could make an ethnic and religious groups look beyond their problems with each other. Everyone has a stake in this trip. And the U.S. economy is dying. The recovery has stopped. AP 6-1. Economic reports offered little solace for the fears that the U.S. economy was slowing. Manufacturing activity expanded at the slowest pace in 20 months. The three industries contracted: printing, furniture, food, beverage, and tobacco. The